Okay, I think I fixed that. I'm still pretty new to streaming. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, well, I think I fixed the name of my stream. If I'm still making a glasses case, I'm not. That was last week. Um, I'm going to be making a 410 case today. Or, well, not fully making it. It's going to be quite a big project. My cat's feeder's going off, and I always forget about it every time, and right on the dot at 11 o'clock it goes off and distracts me, but yeah, so I got a lot of stuff on my desk, because I kind of wanted to go through and explain some of my project before I just kind of jump into it. Also, I don't think I have actually formally introduced myself on here, even though I've done a couple streams. So, hello, I'm Victoria. Hi. And doing leatherworking. I also do taxidermy sometimes, but yeah, channel is Vulture Leatherworking, and that's what I'm doing today. And this project is going to take quite a while, so I definitely won't finish it today, which will be kind of fun to do as like a multi-part kind of series. So I'm going to be making a 410 case today. If you don't know what a 410 is, it is a type of shotgun. It is smaller than a 12 gauge, and I have a case for my 410 right now, but it is not leather. It's just a basic kind of black, kind of soft fabric case. It is too long for the gun I have right now. This whole top folds over. It's too long. My cats have been scratching it up, and you know, it's been a fine case. I just want to try to challenge myself and make something out of leather. It's gonna be a big project, so I have been wanting to make a case for this for a long time, and I recently bought a book that has a bunch of gun case and other cases patterns. Making Leather Cases by Alan and Stolman. So a lot of stuff, leatherworking wise, pattern wise, and design wise. I think it's a husband and wife duo, Alan and Stolman, and I have a lot of their stuff. They're pretty prominent in the leatherworking scene, I guess you could say. So I flipped through. I was really liking that they had rifle and shotgun cases on the front, and I was like, all right, let's try it. Some of these I really liked, but they're more for putting on saddles. You know, you can kind of like tuck it under and everything, which is cool, but I don't have a horse, and although I would love to, I don't see myself having one in any time in the near future or distant future, so I decided to go for the non-saddle case option, and we're gonna do this zippered case. I gotta refocus my camera so I can show y'all what we're trying to do today. So we're doing this zippered case. So okay, pretty much. I think this one looks pretty simple, and just in terms of like it's not doesn't have a ton of design on it or anything. I do want to do a lot of tooling and carving into the ends here, and then I have a plan for this middle section. I have a part of my leather hide that has a brand stamped on it that like the cow was branded, and that translated obviously to the leather, and so I want to try to cut that out to have the brand on here, because I just think that would be pretty cool. I am still on the fence if I want to dye the case or if I want to leave it kind of plain veg tan, and maybe just dye the handle part, but we'll see how I feel with my tooling and carvings and stuff. Yeah, I think I would like to dye it. I think it would make maybe some of the tooling stand out a bit, but I think I just get nervous with dyeing because I'm still not super comfortable with it, and I'm still figuring some stuff out with dyeing, but yeah, so I'm going to do the case. It's going to have the handle on top, and then I'm also going to add the shoulder strap on the bottom. I won't be putting together any of it today. I'm just going to be kind of figuring out the design that I want on the outside, and it's going to take me a while to actually tool all of that in, because I do want to take my time on all of the carving and tooling and everything and try and make it look nice. I've tooled stuff before and turned out pretty decent, but I don't know, I feel like I sometimes get to a point in the project that I just want to stop tooling and I want to like put the thing together, and I kind of hit my limit on the design part of it, and I'm just like, whatever, it's good enough. I just want to put this thing together and see how it's actually going to look, you know, as the item. And yeah, so I want to try to not do that with this. I want to try to like really take my time on the tooling and have it look great. So I went through last night and I traced out the pattern that I need, because it was kind of complicated. There's a lot of like measurements that you had to take for everything to get it to line up right, and the zippered part is just going to be the end, so this kind of along the barrel is going to be solid. The top part's gonna be folded over, and I'm gonna stitch along the bottom, so just the back end of it, kind of where the butt of the gun is gonna be the zippered part. I have never installed a zipper on leather, or I guess anything for that matter, so I am foreseeing that will be my most challenging part of this project, is installing the zipper, but we have time and I still have a lot of carving and stuff to do, and I have to get all that done before I put this thing together. And you might be able to hear my cat scratching up my other black gun case in the back, which is why I want to redo this. So yeah, I came up with some very quick sketches of what I want the design of the case to be. So since this is going to be folded over, there's going to be two halves of the gun case, and I was bouncing ideas off my husband last night too, and he actually came up with an idea that I really liked. I'm a big, or both of us are big desert people, and I'm a big nature person and love a lot of desert nature animals and plants and things like that, so I decided to incorporate a lot of that in the kind of rough design for this. So forgive the bad drawings, this was just a rough sketch. So I'm gonna have a rattlesnake along the barrel, and I'll have a black-tailed jackrabbit kind of running away on the one side, and then this is the brand that's on the hide. I don't know what brand that is, I just thought it looked cool and that it was part of the hide, so I'm just going to utilize that because I can. And then on the other side, love bighorn sheep, so I think I'm going to do a bighorn sheep. I was debating between doing a bighorn sheep and a pronghorn, but I think the bighorn will be more fitting with this whole theme. And then I love ocotillos also. It's a really weird plant out here in the desert, and they're super tall and kind of, they're just odd looking, and they have these really beautiful red flowers up at the top. They're very tall plants, So I was like, okay, how am I gonna put this on here? But I realized that if I have the shoulder strap on here, this will be vertical sometimes when I'm carrying it on my shoulder. So you'll see the ocotillo straight up and down when I'm carrying it on my shoulder. And I just really wanted the ocotillo in there, and that's the only way I could think of that I could squish that in there. And on the back of the handle, this side will have the brand. On the other side, I'm thinking I'm just going to throw a little turkey vulture on there. This is Vulture Leatherworking. Obviously love vultures. They're, I think, one of the first birds I learned to identify, and I think they're underappreciated, and that's just another reason why I really like them. But so this is the very rough idea of what I'm going for on this gun case. So I think I'm going to start with the jackrabbit rattlesnake side today. I have not cut out the part for the handle, because this is just one solid part, and this kind of is another layer that goes over to kind of give it more, I don't know, security and stability and whatnot when you have the handle on. So yeah, I think I might have to trim this up a little bit. I cut it pretty, I don't want to say pretty big. I did my measurements correctly last night, and I drew my little stencil on here, and maybe you can roughly see. And I got so nervous that I was going to cut it too small, and there's obviously a lot of leather, and not that it was going to go to waste, but I just didn't want to cut out this huge section of leather, and then it ends up being too small, and I can't really fix that. I can always cut it down from being too big, but I can't really add more leather. So I cut it a little big, and then I put my shotgun in here and folded it over and everything, and I'm going to have more than enough, so I'm going to actually cut it where I did draw my lines last night. I was more worried about the like butt end of the rifle or shotgun, because I don't know, I'm like, it's just thick and I don't want it to like not meet up. But the zipper is also going to take up some space down at the bottom too, so I'll have more than enough space, and I'm going to trim this down a little bit, and I'm going to put my rattlesnake and my jackrabbit on here. So I have this like tracing paper, and I kind of drew my little elements that I want in here. So I'm going to do my rattlesnake kind of here, because this is going to fold over, right? So that's going to be one half. This is going to be one half. It's going to look like this. So I'm going to put the rattlesnake here, kind of have it like that going down the barrel this way toward the end of the gun, and then I have my black-tailed jackrabbit I'm going to put running away down there at the end, and then this is where my handle will go. My gun is pretty small. It's 410, and so this case isn't super wide, I guess you could say. The patterns in there, they had some for like side-by-side double barrel 12 gauges and stuff where it was like you had a lot more material you're using. And the one thing I'm a little bit nervous about is the handle, because they want you to kind of put the handle where the kind of center of gravity is for your gun, so when you're holding the handle, it's not tipping forward or tipping back with the weight more so on one side than the other. And so my center of gravity is, you know, about here, and at least for the pattern in there, it's said to do about 4 inches on either side, and that's where your kind of strip should be for your handle. I don't have 4 inches for my center of gravity to the end right here. It's a little under 3, so I'm going to do a little under 3 on this side and just make a kind of smaller handle, I guess. Because, yeah, it's not some huge 12 gauge, so I guess I don't need a massive handle to carry this thing around. But, yeah, that's going to be my plan for today, is to trim this down just a little more and start carving some of these. I think I might start on, that's actually a good question, if I want to start on the rabbit or if I want to start on the snake. I think I might start on the rabbit just because I want to. And I think I might, because I don't want to just have the rabbit here and that's it. I think I want to try to put some sort of either florals or some sort of other like landscape or something around it, just so it's not super plain. I was looking through a bunch of books last night to get some inspiration on designs and patterns and whatnot. So I was looking at, I'm gonna clear all this off my desk after, my desk is a mess right now. So this was one that I was looking at that I really liked. This is again another Al Stolman book design. So this is really, I want to do the pronghorn. I just came across this page and I really love the pronghorn. And yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a pronghorn. They are out in New Mexico, but I don't think I've ever seen one out in the wild, but I really want to. And I just liked how it had some of the scenery behind it, but it also had this nice like floral, I don't want to say filler, but like floral filler around the frame. And so I think I might try to do something along those lines around the jackrabbit and around the snake. But we'll see how much space I end up having at the end. I don't want to push my designs all the way to the edge because I'm going to have to stitch along the edges and stuff. But I like this. I got some good inspiration from that. And yeah, I was debating on a lot of animals. I don't know, there's a lot of animals that are my favorites, but I was going off of this belt book that I just bought too. Again, I think this is another Al Stolman one. And he had some good like little, just like little mountain lions and things that I was like, ooh, I could do like a little mountain lion scene and a pronghorn or something, but yeah, this is another Al Stolman. It's hard to not get Al Stolman for leatherworking stuff because he just has a lot of good step-by-step guides, but I like these two because he shows you how to carve everything out, and then he also tells you what tools to use to get the patterns to get the whole design looking good. But yeah, so took a lot of inspiration, but I think I finally figured out what I want to do, and I thought about doing some of these kind of pre-made ones. My top contender was this guy, a little mama cow and a baby cow, but I don't know, I just don't think it's gonna, well, I guess it could take up enough space, but I don't know, I just wanted it to be a little bit more wildlife themed, I guess, instead of I was thinking about doing like horses, cowboy type themed, but I think I was going to go for desert wildlife on this one instead, and we'll see how it goes. So yeah, that's my kind of process of thought there, and how I got to where I am currently. So I didn't really do a whole lot off camera other than cutting this whole thing out and measuring it, because that wouldn't have been super fun to watch. But and I also had to lay this whole side of leather out on my floor in my bedroom, because obviously it's huge. But yeah, so I'm going to, so this is the inside of the leather, the rough side, I guess. I think this is called is this the flesh side? I think so. And then I have the smooth side here. So I made all my markings on the inside, just in case I messed up. It would be on the inside and it wouldn't matter. It's in pencil anyway, but oh well. Yeah, also love this tool. Husband got me this tool, little Ryobi guy. I was skeptical of it at first, if it goes, but it was a lifesaver for cutting this out, because this is a bit thicker leather and I had to make a lot of very long sweeping cuts, and this thing went through it like nothing. And if I had to cut that with my regular, I guess, little manual rotary guy, it would have taken a minute. So yeah, I'm really liking this tool right now, so I kind of figured out how to work it with the leather. So this was a good purchase, good addition. Yeah, so I'm going to trim up some stuff. I'm going to flip it over, and I think I wanted this design to be on the right side. Not that it really matters, but so that would be, so if I fold this in half, this end's going to be the zippered kind of stock end of the shotgun, and then this is going to fold over, and it's going to be stitched all along the bottom there, so it's going to be just this big pocket. So if I'm carrying it, this would be the right side. So I'm going to put my rabbit right here, and then I'll have my pocket and my snake. Yeah, might be a little repetitive right now, but also just like double and triple and quadruple checking my stuff because, well, again, it's leather, and once you kind of do something to it, you can't really take it back. So yeah, I'm just trying to be careful. This, again, is the biggest project I've ever done, and it's a lot of leather, and I don't feel like rushing through something and making a dumb mistake and then having to kind of like start over, or I don't know. So I'm trying to just kind of clear my desk up a bit because I had a lot of stuff on here. This thing's going to be interesting to cut just because it's so long. Okay. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know what's up with this. I had this issue last time too. I feel like this wasn't, she wasn't cutting right. Go. So yeah, I definitely left myself some healthy excess because I was just terrified of making this thing too small first thing and cutting out this whole pattern, like measuring and doing all this stuff and then having it not even fit. So I was like, let's cut some extra. I feel like I'm still leaving myself a little bit of room, so it's always safer to be a little extra than not have enough, so that's kind of what I'm going for. But this isn't bad that I have excess, because part of this design and this pattern is that you need like a thin strip like this to make, I was like trying to read through it and understand like what was the point of it, but you end up putting this and layering it kind of back up at the bottom. I think to maybe match the width, because there's going to be the zipper down here, and so I think you put kind of a core on the bottom here to match up with that, and I don't know if it gives it more structure or something, but I will be able to use this little strip that I'm cutting, which I'm happy about. And then I have had to remind myself a million times that I have this line here to show the center fold point and to not cut it. I almost cut it this morning straight down the middle, and I was like, okay, that would have ruined this project right off the bat, but I was like repeating it to myself in my head a million times, like, don't cut down the middle, don't cut down the middle. Sometimes I just get these stubborn. There we go, don't want to separate. Alright, so I got a nice little strip here that I think I can reuse for later on in the project. So I'll toss that to the side along with these, and then I'm like struggling how to position this right now. And cut a bit off the top. Long line here. Okay, and then I'm gonna have to like fold this over and match it on the other side. Yeah, so you can see how much excess I left myself this morning when I was trimming it, because I was scared. There we go. Just alright. So I'm trying to figure out how to cut this little tight turn here, because this isn't super awesome for tight corners like that, but I think what I might do is fold this over and do the same thing, trace with pencil along the, so I don't have to keep it lined up the whole time. Because that's going to be, I have a feeling it's going to miss a line and then it's going to be kind of a nightmare, so fold this in half. Best I can. This is some kind of a little bit of thick leather, which would be good for my, it's gonna be good for a case, so I'm happy with that, but it's always a little more difficult to work with. Oops. Going off camera. Okay. That's my biggest thing I'm trying to focus on right now, is getting both sides to be even and equal. Okay. And then I'll kind of just do that there. This tracing paper is very crinkly. Put it out of the way here. Yeah, my desk gets a little crowded sometimes with all the tools I need. And it doesn't help that this piece of leather is really long. Okay, here goes nothing. Let's hope this still fits after I'm done with it. Okay. And then I'm gonna get something smaller to cut that little round bit out. I think these are, I don't know if these were meant for like woodworking or shaping clay or something, but they definitely come in handy for leatherworking, so these are really good, but I might need to sharpen them a little bit. And this leather's really thick, so it's taking me a little bit, a couple passes to get through. Man, I'm so glad that the time went, what is it, spring forward? Last night it was like 6 p.m. and it was still light outside, and I was like, oh my god, finally. I hate coming home from work and it's like dark, and I'm like, okay, well, there's my day. I guess I just go to bed, eat dinner and go to bed 'cause it's dark outside. I can't do anything. But It's nice when you come home and it's still light outside and you feel like you can kind of do something. Okay, I got this last little piece here. Okay, cool. Weird little like wishbone piece. Okay, put those back. I should be able to use this for the rest of it. I'm very glad I put a new blade on this thing because I think I'd be struggling right now if I still had my old blade on this. Okay, let me make sure these are still lining up. Beautiful. Oh yeah, look at that. And I still might, you know, trim this up some more and get it really smooth, but I just want this the relatively rough size that I need it so that I'm not carving into and making a bunch of effort and designs into stuff that I'm gonna have to trim off anyway. So I'm still doing fairly rough cuts right now, but that's okay. I just want it to be as close to the size as actual as possible. Why is this like loosening up all the time? Yeah, I have a feeling that this isn't going to be perfect because again, it is my first time making this, but I'm also trying not to pressure myself too much. And I'm just trying to think like, okay, yeah, this is your first like gun case that you've made, but and your like first project of this size, but you're not making it for anybody else. It doesn't have to be super perfect. Like nobody's paying you for this. Like, you know, so it's a little less pressure when I'm just making it for myself. And if I make a mistake on it, I don't feel so. I'm not as hard on myself as I would be. Sorry, I just gotta like finish this cut. Good God. Okay. Oh, I got a couple spots that didn't quite cut through on this end. This is a thing to wrestle on this desk a little bit, but I don't really have anywhere else to work on it, so like usual, I'm just working with what I got. So yeah, that's a nice long thin strip I could use for something later. Last cut I'm going to make is just across the top here. Cool. See if this roughly lines up. Oopsie, sorry. Cool. So we'll have the barrel end here, go down, and then we'll have a zipper where these meet up, and it'll go all the way around the butt of the gun. Ooh, I'm excited. Okay. So this is folded, handle, this will be the right side. So I want my rabbit here. Alright, I'm gonna let this hang off the edge of the desk. Move some tools away. Get a twink. Okay, so I like that little, I have a little mark here on the leather, like a scar or something from the cow, and I kind of like that. I like that that's kind of prominent on there. Where did my rabbit go? Here it is. Rabbit here. So, let's see. I think I might move him back a little bit, just to give myself room if I want to do any other designs or florals around him. I got some space to work with instead of kind of shoving him here at the end. And then, yeah, my handle will be roughly there. So I got some space to work with on either side and a little bit on top and bottom. I think he's made him a good size. So in order to carve leather, this is veg tan or vegetable tan leather. I really like it because you can do a lot of stuff with it. You can carve into it, you can dye it, you can wet mold it, so you can get it pretty much soaking wet and kind of form it around an object and leave it to dry like that, and it'll maintain that the form of whatever you molded it around. And there's other types of leather like chrome tan leather that you can't do all that stuff with. It's really nice soft leather, but I guess a little less, I don't know what you call it, like you can't, I call this like personalization. You can't personalize as much, you can't dye it or carve into it. So with veg tan, it's stiffer. It comes in this natural kind of tannish, pinkish color, and yeah, I'm debating on leaving it this color because over time and use, it will turn a nice darker brown color. But I'm still kind of 50-50 on that, if I want to dye it and what color that dye would be anyway. So yeah, in order to carve this, I need to get this wet. I'm not going to get the whole thing wet because I'm not carving the whole thing right now. But I think I'm probably just going to get this section here wet. And then once that's wet, I can use a bunch of these tools here, little stamps and whatnot. They all have different patterns and textures. Maybe I'll take a couple different ones and put them up close to the camera so you guys can see kind of what I'm talking about. So yeah, there's kind of some, like a little acorn, a flower, some texture. This one's smooth. This one's got some pretty rough texture on it. This one you can use for like little seeds inside a flower or something. But I have a ton of these that I can use to make different textures and make this guy stand out. I got all of these. If you watch my last stream, I talked about how when I was living at home with my parents, we had this old neighbor that lived next door that had a bunch of leatherworking stuff, and when he passed away, he had put that big trunk of leatherworking stuff in his will and willed it to my dad. And my dad thought it was super interesting, but he wasn't really going to sit down and do a bunch of leatherworking, so he gave it to me, and that's how I ended up with all this. And all of these stamps and the wood blocks and everything that came with it were in that trunk, which I'm super happy for because there's, see if I can pull them over here so you can see them. I have 3 different, I got one, another block of them, and I have this 3rd block. So I have a lot of options, and it's helped me out a lot in a lot of my different tooling things. And yeah, these things aren't super cheap, and the amount of different textures and then shapes and then sizes of all these is kind of impressive. And I have them roughly organized like mostly by texture. And there's like this whole, I think, system of, like, each one of these on the handle has a different number associated with it, and there's some big, like, catalog that, you know, tells you what each pattern is and what number it is and everything. And then you can go into these books, you know, like this, and you can see this beautiful carving like this, and then it'll tell you how to carve it, and then which stamps you would need for each kind of piece of it, to give the desired effect. So some of these I wouldn't have even thought to use the way that they tell you to use them. So it's pretty clever how they have you use some of these. Like, you'll use like a kind of triangular one and use the point of it and do it a bunch of times to get like the outline of a tree or something, or a leaf, a rose leaf or something. Anyway, I'm getting into the nitty gritty of it, but I have a bunch of these tools. I'm excited to get into some of this, and I'm just trying to figure out, maybe I'll set these on top, just because this is kind of an awkward piece of leather, and I kind of need my tools right there, so I'm going to set this on top. Now my rabbit, I have a random glass of water here, and I have a shirt. And that's just how I'm going to get this wet, because I don't feel like taking this all the way over to the sink and trying to manhandle this thing under the sink. So let's hope this does the job. Get this wet. You can see it changes colors when you get it wet, and gets darker. So that's kind of another good indicator of how you can tell what is getting dried out or what's keeping its moisture or not. So depending on how long this takes me, I might have to re-wet this, and that's one of my goals also for this project. Is I have done leather carving before, but I feel like my carvings don't stand out as much the way they might do, the way they do in like the books or kind of the examples. I think part of the issue is that I wasn't using leather that's thick enough. So this is pretty thick leather that I have a lot of, I guess, depth to work with in terms of stamping, so I can stamp harder and leave a deeper impression, where some of the other leathers I was working with were pretty thin, so I couldn't really get that same like range of depth, if that makes sense. And so that's kind of one of my goals for this, is to work on my tooling and making it look a little more, I guess, just better in general, but like making it look more contrasted and 3D, I guess you could say. Okay, so I think I've gotten this wet enough, hopefully. And yeah, you can kind of see that scar a little better now, too, that I've gotten this wet. I kind of like that. So now that this is wet, I put this rabbit on tracing paper so that I can place it where I want to, and I can see the leather underneath. Okay, I don't know why that rolled up like that. So I can see the leather underneath, I can place it where I want to, and then I can use a tool like maybe this. It's just got a little rounded tip on it, and I can trace my outline, and it'll leave an impression on the leather so that I can go back with my swivel knife and carve out everything, and then use the stamps to add whatever textures I want to and all that good stuff. So I think I'm gonna go for it. Yeah, nervous, excited, but I gotta just do it at some point, so now's better than any other time, I guess. So I'm just gonna kind of lightly, well, not lightly, I'm using some pressure, kind of tracing it like maybe you would a pen with paper, and then, you know, the pen leaves that like 3D outline on the back of the paper. That's essentially what I'm doing with this, but it leaves an indent on the leather that I can trace after. I kept this outline fairly simple, just because I don't need to add a ton of detail to the drawing. I just need a rough outline, and you know, so I get all the proportions and everything correct, and I'm gonna do all the detail on the leather anyway, so it doesn't really matter how detailed I make the drawing. Oh, and then I gotta do the tail. I almost forgot the tail. So I'm not doing just any rabbit, I'm doing a black-tailed jackrabbit, which is native here to San Diego. I live in San Diego, and well, I think they have a pretty wide range overall, but they're in the deserts here, things like that, but this could be my guy. I love jackrabbits and how freaky they look, as compared to like a little cute cottontail bunny. So they look like they have seen some things, and I adore that about them. So I'm gonna try to get this up close so that you can kind of see the light impression I've made on the leather. Sorry, this is a awkward, like, bringing it up to the camera and refocusing and stuff, but my camera just doesn't have autofocus, so I'm doing what I can. Okay, bring this up here, try to hold this and focus. Maybe I focus too much. Here we go. You can see that light outline that I've done. So yeah, this just, you can barely feel it with your finger, but it's enough of a guideline that I can use to now carve this and not just kind of go wild. It feels like tattooing almost, where it's like, whatever I put on there is gonna be there forever, and it gets a little intimidating if I think about it too much, so I try not to, but so I'm gonna get my swivel knife. Actually, I'll just show you up close since I'm already here what a swivel knife is. This is a swivel knife. It's got a thin blade on the one end, and it's called a swivel knife because it swivels around. So you put your finger up here and you hold this, and you can, you know, carve and swivel and do all your lines. Yeah, I have used this a bit, but I'm still kind of figuring out how to get those smooth curves. Because it's not the easiest tool in the world to work with, but okay. I'm also just gonna get a scrap piece of leather and this stuff. Hold on. So, I'm a total self-taught leather worker, and yeah, it's definitely has its, I don't know what you call it, learning curves, I guess. And I was having a hard time carving and getting good tooling, and I went to my local Tandy leather supply and kind of asked some questions about tooling and dyeing and things like that, and I got recommended to use this stuff, which it looks like a bone, but it's pretty dense. I think it was called like jeweler's chalk or something like that. But essentially you like color it on like a piece of leather. So you get this white layer on your leather, and you're supposed to be able to like rub your blade of your swivel knife, just kind of along it like this, and I think it helps kind of, maybe not quite sharpen it, but I guess kind of sharpen it and like keep that edge so you can get nice, clean, deep cuts instead of, I guess, just kind of mashing your leather around and not actually cutting into it. I realized I forgot to trace one of the ears, so I'm going to try to, best I can, line this back up and trace that other ear wherever my tool went that I was using. Hello? Oh, I put it back. Cool, good enough. Just want something for reference. 'Cause yeah, there's been times where I've been so focused on carving things right that I've completely forgotten body parts, like an ear or something, so I like to take a step back from it occasionally and, I don't know, I guess just look at it and make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to. Yeah, I guess, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this while I'm working on it, but yeah, I'll try to take breaks and show you some up-close shots. I guess after each step, or maybe after a couple steps, so that you guys can see the progress. So I'm just going to take my swivel knife and put it at an angle, so that you kind of use it at an angle so that you're cutting with the corner into the leather. And going around, but yeah, and I guess it's kind of important to not swivel cut every single line. Like I had a line drawn on my pattern. It's kind of faint, but it's kind of where the brown of the rabbit stops and the white, you can see the white stomach. But I'm not going to like cut that line into the rabbit. I'm just going to, you know, maybe use that as a reference of where I might do another texture or something, or do less texture, or maybe not stamp as hard so it looks lighter or something, but yeah, you don't have to like full send cut every single little piece. So I learned that jackrabbits and, what was it? It was like, oh, hares and rabbits are different animals. I knew they were different animals, but I guess I didn't know what the actual difference of them was. And I learned a lot of cool, interesting facts. So the one was that it's, sorry, I'm like having a hard time doing commentary and cutting at the same time, I'm realizing. But hares are animals like jackrabbits, which is funny because rabbit is the name jackrabbit, even though they're not actually rabbits, but it's okay. And so jackrabbits or hares, they give, you know, birth to live young like any rabbit does, but they are like fuzzy, eyes open, ready to conquer the world, like ready to go on a mission, where your cute little cottontail rabbits that you usually think of when you think of a bunny, those ones, like, they build a nest and they give birth to like what you usually think of, where they're like kind of almost hairless and blind, and they're just little babies, very dependent on their moms. Yeah, I'm rambling, but it's okay. So I have my rough outline of my rabbit here, or I guess my hare. And I have a picture, my kind of reference picture I used for this, up on my screen to like use as reference for more details. Like I need to carve a couple toes in here. And I also learned that rabbits and hares both, don't have toe beans like our cats or dogs do. They just have like fluffy toes. Very furry feet. I gotta do a couple toe beans here also. I'm really nervous because this is like a very big carving, so I'm gonna have to get like kind of detailed with it, you know? And it's gonna be a little harder to kind of cover up weird mistakes that I make. 'Cause with smaller carvings, I feel like you can kind of, you know, like I'm not super happy with that foot, but I feel like once I add some patterns and stuff, it'll work out. Okay, just gonna go for an ear here. Neck. We do I'm trying to think of like how to do this ear. There we go. I like that. Ooh, I like that ear. That's a good one. Okay. Sometimes I make some cuts that I'm really happy with, and that was one. And sometimes I'm realizing now this is gonna be the hard part of doing this is, you know, sometimes, like I said, I have some hard times still doing those smooth curves and stuff with the swivel knife. And so I'll rotate the whole piece around to try to get a good angle. But this piece is obviously very long, so, and kind of hard to wrangle, so I might have to like adjust myself around the leather a bit more. Than anything. Okay. Cool. Getting down to the little bunny nose. It's gonna have a little open mouth here. Okay. Yeah, I think you can start seeing this a little bit better on camera now that I've carved into it, but I'll do a close-up when I finish the outline. Okay, I think I'll do... Okay. Do this. I need a toe here, a toe here, and then this last one will be a toe. Okay, the toes are looking a little interesting, but we'll fix that when we get to putting in some patterns, so try not to be too perfectionist about it quite yet. And I got like a little bit. Sorry for the lack of commentary while carving. It's just little focus oriented, so don't cut the wrong thing or just go wild. Okay. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna do that too. Well, I'll do it lightly. Okay, so I'm gonna show my rabbit after doing a rough outline with swivel knife. There's the rough swivel knife outline. So you can see there's some lines that I haven't followed through all the way. Like I have a line, oops, it's like mirrored, so there we go. I didn't do this line all the way up for like his hip, because I think I'm just gonna stamp that, do some textures with that. Sorry, I'm trying to like look at this on my screen, and it's mirrored from what I'm doing in real life, so I'm having a hard time getting it focused, but so there he is. I didn't cut out his eye or anything yet. Sometimes I do that. I'll go back and do some more swivel knifing once I've kind of maybe put in some of the designs and whatnot, but yeah, this is where I'm at right now. So this is what we got. This top on the back is going to be darker, and it kind of gets lighter, and then white on the stomach, and then he has black tips on his ears and then on top of his tail. And I'm trying to figure out how to, because I don't think I want to dye it like colored. I think when I dye it, I'm just going to do a solid color, but you can stamp different textures and different like intensities, I guess. Like you can stamp it deeper to make things look darker, and then stamp things in a gentler texture and not stamp as hard to make things look lighter. So I might try to do that. And what I usually do is I go around the whole outline with a tool maybe like this. Let's see if I can get this focused. Where is it? Like this, where it's just like, it's got a smooth like surface to it, and I can get that end right up next to, kind of right into the cut, and stamp all along the bottom so that I'm lowering, I guess, the background part of it, and the rabbit is gonna be sticking up more out of the leather and more visible, I guess, stand out from the background. Yeah, so I'm having like a very hard time explaining this. I realized I've never had to like sit and explain my process while I'm doing it, so I am like very much struggling for words, more so than I normally would, which I'm hoping the more of these videos I make, the easier that'll get. So might be a little rough watch, so sorry, but it'll get better. It's all that matters. So I got my rabbit. I might try to maybe move this over a bit. Yeah, you can see that. Cool. So yeah, I got my rabbit here. I'm gonna probably get this wet again, because you can see it's pretty much all the same color again. It still feels a little damp, but you want this to be fairly wet so that it takes the stamp more. Because yeah, if you just try to stamp on like totally dry leather, like you can still get something into it, but it's not going to be as apparent as it is when it's wet. So I'm going to get this a little wet again. Remind myself not to drink out of this glass of water because I've been dunking a t-shirt into it, but okay, get this wet again. Oh yeah, you could really see the rabbit now on camera, which is good. I was like so nervous that I was gonna be carving down here and you wouldn't be able to see anything all the way up there, but I don't know, I might have to mess around with the camera angle, because if I'm doing a lot of tooling, I might set up the camera down here somewhere, and then it'll be focused on a small spot. Because I initially tried to do that when I was messing around and trying to find out a right camera for this and stuff, but I was using my phone initially, and it was set up down here, and it was okay, but I did notice I was getting out of frame a lot, and so I was like, okay, and also my phone, it was draining battery a lot, like I could barely get through a stream without my battery dying, and my phone was getting really hot, and So I had a camera that I was using that I was gonna make traditional YouTube videos with, but the camera that I have, I guess, is known for having overheating issues when you're recording videos on it, and managed to get it working for streaming, and it doesn't have that same overheating issue, which is fantastic because I was only able to shoot like 20 minutes of video before it would overheat, which is good for some people, but I'm doing a lot, you know, leatherworking takes a long time, and I'm doing stuff that's a lot longer than 20 minutes, so it was, I was having a hard time with that because I was having to stop and take a break for a minute while the camera cooled down and then come back to my project, which, yeah, was not helping my, like, motivation for the projects if I had to stop every 20 minutes, so, yeah, I'm really glad I could do this. But I tried to set up the camera initially down here like I had my phone, and it was like such a tight area that I was like, man, I'm just gonna get out of shot constantly, and you guys are just gonna be looking at like a little square on my desk all the time and not see what I'm doing. And so I put the camera up where it is now, and it's nice because you can kind of see more of the project and more of what I'm doing, and I'm not constantly like getting out of shot, but it does make it harder because sometimes I need to and want to show more up close stuff, so yeah, I'm just making it work for now, but I think maybe before next week I might try putting it down here again and seeing how tight the shot actually is, and it might be nice just to, even if it is just focused on here, then you can see like all the stamping that I'm doing in real time without watching me do it from afar and then seeing it up close later. So anyway, yeah, sometimes when I do this, I do use a hammer and like tap the whole time. Sorry if you guys are shaking, you're on my toolbox and I'm opening the drawers. I have these rawhide hammers, pretty nifty, and you can kind of do that the whole way around. I've done that before sometimes. I feel like it's better when you have the actual textured things, but with the smooth ones, I feel like I kind of just, well, I don't know, maybe I will hammer it. Sometimes I feel like I kind of just drag it along the outside and it kind of does what I want it to do, but I might hammer it. So I feel like it did kind of make a difference. I guess it's just hard keeping, hammering it and going in a line and keeping that line straight when you're hammering. That's my biggest thing, but hopefully the hammering won't be too loud and I can still talk over it. And yeah, so I think you can maybe even, not really, but I can already start to feel it where it's one level and then it dips down and then the rabbit is on top. So yeah, usually I get kind of, maybe not intimidated, but I kind of get a little lost on where to start with, you know, putting down different stamps and textures and things, and I don't know where to start, so I'm like, okay, let me outline it and get this subject away from the background a bit, and that'll kind of help me at least kind of figure out what I need to do. And I think it's worked fairly well so far. And I could always go back in later with other textures and stuff and on top of the smooth and make it more aggressive if I need to. Like I might put something like one of the first stamps I showed, like the pretty aggressive looking one, down underneath the rabbit, and maybe show like, have that be representative like dirt or something, or have some dirt flakes like it's running, you know, and it's kicking up dirt. I might do that. I have to also, I just thought about this right now, I have like a beaded bracelet on, and I guess I have to make sure I'm not pressing too hard with my wrist in the leather because I feel like it might transfer the beads into the leather, which I don't want. Okay, to the tail. So, yeah, I'm already an hour into this stream, or this video, and I'm just starting to work on one of my animals. I know I did a lot of explaining beforehand, but leatherworking does take quite some time, depending on the project, and, you know, how difficult the project is, how big the project is, how much, like, design work you're putting into it, and whether you're dyeing it or whatever. Like, a project can take me an hour or less, or it can take me multiple days, just depending. And this is definitely going to be a multi-day project, so I am not anywhere close to putting this thing together. I still have a lot of designing to do and stamp work, but this is also the very fun, kind of rewarding part of it. It's weird because I feel like the tooling and the artistic part of it is rewarding in one way, and then actually putting the project together and seeing this thing kind of come together in this, you know, usually 3D usable item is very rewarding in another way. And so that's why I like leatherworking, is that it combines a lot of things that I am passionate about and that I love, and puts them all into one. I love leather, and I love doing art, and I also really like being able to make things by myself that are, you know, this is something that I can make essentially from scratch and design myself, and at the end of it I'm going to have a usable item that I more than likely will have forever unless something catastrophic happens. But yeah, it feels like extremely rewarding at the end of it to have made something useful, whether it's a wallet or a purse or literally whatever it is. Like, it just feels nice to... I think my favorite thing is going somewhere and, you know, say if somebody, like, compliments my purse or my wallet or my watch band that I've made, or, you know, whatever, and then just go, oh, thank you, like, I made it, and then everyone goes, oh my god, like, wow, really? Are you, like, you made that? And I'm like, yes! And then I get to show off all the little cool parts about it, and I don't know, I always really like that. It's like a little self-esteem boost, I guess. Yeah, not only do you get somebody complimenting you, but then you get kind of like the double whammy of somebody liked a thing that I was wearing, and then they got doubly impressed because I made it myself, you know? So... okay. This is a little slower going, so I'm talking, but... I'm just gonna try to get this little guy. It's weird too, I feel like sometimes it's easier if I switch tool and hammer. To get into certain grooves. I don't know if that makes me ambidextrous or not, but it just works for me, so that's what I do. Because certain angles, it's just easier to see if I'm holding the tool in my right hand and hammering with my left, instead of trying to, like, do this weird look around my hand type situation. So if you watched my stream last week, I was talking about holder for a pair of sunglasses. And I have a press that I can use to punch holes and set snaps and stuff. And I talked about how I used to have to hammer and do all those things. And I'd use this hammer, which it would be a lot louder than this is now. I'm tapping it very gently and quietly. In order to punch a hole straight through the leather, I would have to hit it a lot harder. And it got pretty obnoxious, but other than hammering, I don't really have an alternative for tooling. Like, I don't have an alternative to hammering when it comes to tooling, other than, you know, sometimes I'd get the leather wet and I was able to just kind of press and trace around, but I feel like I still can't really get as deep as I want to with that, so. I think I might try to show also my 410 that I have here. I showed the case earlier, just the regular black fabric case. I think I might try to show later the stock, or like the butt of my shotgun, because I made a leather wrap for it, and I had little, I don't know what you call it, I did loops on it, on the outside of it, so I could put rounds in there, because it's just a single shot shotgun, and which I really like, but yeah, it's only one shot at a time, and other than like just putting rounds in my pockets, like I didn't really have anywhere to put the shots, so I think I made it like six rounds or something, and I've actually yet to try it out. I haven't gone shooting in quite some time, but I have a feeling it'll be really nice to go shooting and then just, you know, take out the one round and pull another one from the butt and just put it straight in, instead of, you know, trying to dig for something. I might show this now so that you can see. I've done kind of somewhat of the back half of the rabbit, and I haven't done the head yet. Actually, I might do one more line and then I'll show you guys. Show y'all. I think it's easier if I fold this. I'll show it to you like this. Okay. Let's get this focused again. So, I don't know how much you can tell or not. Maybe if I have more light on it. No, maybe. So, I haven't done a lot of hammering, but I've done some on the back end here. I don't know how to like show this on camera. So I haven't done the head. It still looks pretty flat, but hopefully you can see on the back end here, you can start seeing a little bit of shading on the outside where I'm trying to separate it from the background a bit and have it stand out a bit. This is just kind of my step one. I'm going to do a lot more, obviously, hammering. I think I'm going to try to do some textures and stuff in the background to push that down and pull this guy out. And yeah, I think, yeah, I'm still back and forth on putting florals and stuff. I definitely have space to put like maybe a California poppy or something here, like just some poppies or something else. I don't have a ton of room at the top or bottom, because I did make this, I wanted to make him as big as possible to fill up the most space, and I have some space, I guess, behind him before we get to the handle. So I don't know, I think I'm just gonna work on the rabbit for now, and I'm gonna work on the snake after the rabbit, and depending on how those look, I might either just do a more basic landscape, maybe do a cactus or something, and, you know, some rocks and whatnot, and vegetation in the background, or I might do kind of like I showed earlier, that more floral like border. But yeah, that snake is going to take up, it's going to go along the whole barrel there, but yeah. So again, I still have like, I always focus the wrong way before I get it right. Is that good? I think that's okay. Yeah, I usually make some of these decisions either spur of the moment, or I kind of, you know, do some of the design work first and see how it looks before I commit to other stuff. But yeah, this is my usual kind of process, is kind of doing the rough design first and seeing what happens. But I feel like if I plan it out too much, it gets a little overwhelming maybe, and then there's just too many details to it, instead of just like, well, I'm just gonna do this rabbit for now and see how it looks, instead of like, well, I gotta do a rabbit and I gotta do all these background pieces and I gotta do, you know, still so much more of this. But I don't know, trying to be better about doing big projects like this and not rushing them, and not, I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I'm not making this for anybody. I'm making this for myself. There's no deadline on this. There's no... The stakes are low, I guess I should say. The only person I'm going to disappoint is myself if this doesn't turn out right, or how I want it to, and nobody's losing money other than myself on potentially wasted leather. But again, I don't think this is gonna go so sideways that I'm gonna have to scrap the whole thing. Again, I think the hardest part for me is gonna be the zipper, just because I've never done it before. But yeah, that book outlines the steps pretty well, and is nice about, I guess, kind of forewarning you on certain things and making sure you're, you know, thinking about certain items or certain steps before you do certain things, just so you don't mess up whatever. I'm bad at talking and carving, I'm sorry. But I'm trying now to just see if it's better if I use hand pressure or the hammer. Kind of like just using hand pressure. Sometimes with the hammer it gets a little what you call it, like it's not as smooth. You can kind of see each individual stamp, and I think that might just be me either not using like equal pressure, I guess, on each strike, or not overlapping them enough, or whatever. But sometimes it's just easier to like almost draw on the leather, or like carve into it like clay or something, you know? Yeah, I'm liking that a lot better. So I do plan on recording all of these streams. Oh, that's weird. Like, I think the heat of my hand dried the leather on my fingerprints. Anyway, that was a side thought. I'm gonna record all of these streams and post them on YouTube. And so if you end up not being able to make my stream, totally okay. You can always watch them on YouTube. And like still back and forth if I'm going to do highlight videos for each of these. I probably should, I feel like, but okay, then I'm going to, there we go, there we go, there we go, okay. Maybe you can see that kind of lighter part where I went in with the smooth tool and extended up his little hip thigh meat, I guess you could say, instead of carving it, and I think it looks nice. Yeah, so far I'm feeling fairly pleased with this rabbit. I like feeling the 3D-ness so far. I'm going to look at one of these books that I had, because it had another rabbit in it. I think it was this one, maybe. Because he had a bunch of designs in here with a bunch of animals. Yes. I don't think you really see it, but there's a rabbit in here, and he's showing what tools to use for certain textures. And yeah, I think that makes sense. So he's using a tool with texture that looks like a bunch of fine parallel lines, and stamping that so it looks like fur, which makes sense to me. I think I'm gonna do, yeah, maybe this more rounded one. I'll pull out some of these and see how they look, and then, oh, I see, okay. And then he uses these kind of fine, they look kind of like a little triangle, like a little teardrop, and uses that little fine corner, and stamps a bunch of them next to each other so that you get the, like the fluff of the tail fur a bit, which I like that. So I think I'm going to use that. This rabbit is a lot different than mine because it's pretty small, so he's using, you know, tools that you don't have to get super detailed on it. And I think I'm going to do a more textured, like I was saying, down here to kind of show like a shadow that he is off the ground. The only foot that's on the ground is this one. So I might put a little shadow here, here, and here, or kind of like under him in general, and then make this the ground. So yeah. Let's see. I think this is the biggest carving I've ever done. So that's why I'm hesitating a lot and I'm stalling because it's exciting, but it's, you know, I don't know, it's still nerve-wracking to like do something this big. Because like I said, you know, it's pretty big. I can't really hide a lot of imperfections in it, so same thing with the snake. The snake's gonna be huge, which I'm excited about, but yeah, this is gonna be, I was really debating on the snake because the snake is going to be top-down view and the rabbit's gonna be side view, and I was really debating on that of like, well, should I make the snake side view also so that it's, I guess so it makes sense, but I think it's just design preference or design choice, and I wanted to see the snake top down. I'm going to do a Western Diamondback rattlesnake, and I wanted to see all the cool patterns along its back, so I'm going to do top down view, and I think if I just did a side view, it would just be harder to fill up the space. Like top-down view, I can make him slither and serpentine. But if it's just side view, then he's got to be pretty flat, I guess. Which would be fine, but and would still work. But design-wise, I like this better. And I don't care if it doesn't make sense. Yeah. Okay, well, I just gotta start stamping because the first one's always the hardest, right? I'm gonna do, probably get a little wet some more, just so the stamps really sink in there. If you want to see the definition of stalling, look up the dictionary and this video will pop up, and that's all you'll need. Because I am stalling so hard right now. I don't know why this rabbit is so intimidating to me, because he's so big. I just gotta do it. Okay. I'm gonna start with some lighter textures to ease myself in. Gonna do some roughness down here. Cool. I always get these mixed up. I think I'll do some. What's this one? I'll do this one. He's got some dark, kind of marked lines almost going down his legs. You can kind of see like the bone, not the bone, but you can see kind of like the muscle and tendons, I guess you could say, going down the leg. So I'm going to try to show some of that. And it's a little darker, so maybe I'll do some texture a little bit, maybe. I have to not be afraid of giving this thing texture. I gotta just send it. That's why my carvings are always they're not deep enough, because I tap lightly and I get nervous. And I gotta be okay with doing some deep impressions, because it's what's gonna make it look good. It's just daunting. I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna get some of these out. Alright, you know what? Let's go for some big swaths over here. Let's do... Yeah, realize I probably can't talk a ton when I'm actually hammering like that. So sorry for the thigh rip in the jeans, but it is what it is. Okay. Start out subtle, get comfortable with it, and then we just increase the intensity from there. And that's how I'm gonna do it. I need like another shape. Here we go. Yes, this one. Oop. Yes, okay. maybe you can see on the camera, I think you can a little bit, that I'm making this a bit darker up here. And I started making this part a little bit darker to kind of show his little elbow. I might try to pull up the I'm gonna pull up my picture that I'm referencing on my phone so you guys can see what the idea is. Let's see, black tailed jackrabbit images. Where is my inspo pic? This is my inspo pic that I'm using. Of course, they had to make it tiny. Oh, Jesus. Come on now. Sorry, this was more complicated than I thought it would be. This is the inspo pic I'm going for. So he is more dark on the top here. He's got some dark behind the leg, black ear tips. He's got this dark part going down the shoulder here and down his leg. So I'm trying to just kind of darken up those parts right now. And he's also got a black top of the tail. He's a black-tailed jackrabbit. And then you can kind of see, like, I'm gonna get in there and do some of the dark, kind of separating the head and neck. And then this is big enough that I can get in there and do like his little nose, do the little whiskers, get in the darkness around the eye and stuff, and get all that like ear detail. That's a weird word to say back to back, ear detail. But yeah, that's what I was talking about when I said you could see like his little, I don't know, like the tendons, I guess. I was trying to make that line there and try to make maybe this part a little darker. So I think that's why I was so intimidated on jumping in. It's because like you just look at this whole picture and you're like, how do I translate that to textures and leather? You know, like what textures do I pick out? What stamps do I pick out that's gonna make it look like rabbit fur, I guess. And again, like once you stamp this in here, it's in there. So that's why I was trying to kind of go lightly at first, so that, you know, if I need to cover it up with another stamp or something, I can. But if I just full send it with an aggressive stamp and realize that that's not the texture I want, or that's not really going to fully work how I want it to, I can't really do a ton about it. So yeah, this is the inspiration I'm going for. Hopefully I can make it, you know, obviously it's not going to be in color, it's going to be monochromatic. Maybe it'll help me if I convert the picture to black and white, so then I'm getting more, instead of looking at color, I'm looking more at like tones, I guess. So maybe if I edit this, edit to black and white. And maybe I'll get some more tones and that'll help. Oh, there we go. Okay. I think this might help me. So if we look at this now, I've converted this to black and white, which weirdly enough on camera it still oddly looks kind of in color. Why does it, it's totally in black and white on my screen, I swear. Odd. Okay. I think this might help me just look at where I need to make darker and where I need to make lighter, and I can work on the texture as I go. But I also am gonna have to commit at some point and carve the eye. The eye is always the I don't want to say scariest part, but it's the thing you're going to notice the most, right? Um, yeah, the eyes. If you mess up the eyes, like, you're going to notice for sure. Um, you know, I can carve a little messed up toe or something, and it'll it'll be fine. But the face is the most important part, right? Or at least the most notable part. Um, so I think I'm gonna have to carve this at some point, and just see how it see what happens. But again, I can't like be too afraid of this because it's just for me. So it's not like I'm gonna disappoint someone I'm like commissioning this for. It's just gonna be my own gun case for my own personal use. So I just need to like keep thinking about that. I went through every single one of these to look for the one I needed. Okay, I'm going to I'm gonna use this one. Try to get into the ear. Get kind of into the ear there and make it look a little darker, a little deeper, like I'm getting into the little ear canal. Sometimes, if I need to get very detailed, I just sit and press it where I need it. Sometimes the hammer can throw it off a bit, I feel like, at least for me. And then there's some ear fuzz. So I'm going to do like the pattern book suggested and use something with a fine kind of triangle point on it and use that point over and over again so that you can get the little tufts of hair and it looks fuzzy. I might try to show that afterward. There's another one I want to use, but where is it? That's the only bad thing about having so many of these is I can't figure out where they all go. This is one of those ones I gotta trade hands again. And then I can't hammer with my left hand to save my life. Oh, Jesus. Try to show another close-up, just to see my progress, I guess. Not that it's been a whole lot, but maybe show you guys some of the stuff I was talking about. Get up close. So I've done a little bit. Doesn't look great right now because it's I need to do texture over the whole thing and then make parts darker, but I wanted to try to show how I use that little triangle end to make the fuzzy bits. And on the ear, God, I'm having such a hard time with the focus. On the ear, I got the fluff in the ear, kind of, and a little bit on the tail. I could probably even make it more deeper, more aggressive so that you can see more of the fuzz, I guess. Yeah. So, again, this is obviously going to take me multiple times, not multiple times, multiple like streams to do and finish, and I'm cool with that. And it's gonna be hopefully nice for me because then I won't get burnt out on it, you know what I mean? I can kind of take breaks. Oh, I like that. I can kind of take breaks and work on other stuff, whether that's the taxidermy or what have you. But okay, so I'm gonna add some fuzz and fluff. Back of the neck too, I need some fuzz. Here we go. I feel like I might go over the whole thing in a texture, because the whole thing has fur, and I feel like it looks odd if I leave completely smooth parts to it. I didn't show you the kind of up close of the rough texture underneath the foot, where the ground is, but it's okay. I have to get the sweat again. It has been very dry here in San Diego. Recently we've been getting the Santa Ana winds, which it just gets really windy here, and it's really dry wind, which is great because I hate humidity, but it just dries everything out really fast, and including my sinuses. So yeah, it'll also make my life easier if I keep this wet, because I won't have to press so hard and try so hard to get these stamps to work themselves into the leather. Yeah. Let me look at my little rabbit again in black and white. I have him on my computer, but he's in color still, and I think it's kind of messing me up. Also, what I might do is carve the snake so that I can work back and forth on the snake and the rabbit. I do that sometimes with my projects or just art in general. If I'm feeling stuck on a certain point, is work on another aspect of it or work on something else. And then once I get kind of stuck, so like say if I get stuck on a certain part of the rabbit and I'm just like, I don't know where, like what I'm supposed to be doing next, or yeah, just getting stuck on a certain point or not figuring out what texture I'm supposed to be doing or whatever. Say I can carve out the snake and I might be having a really good flow on the snake, and I might hit a point where, you know, maybe I can't figure out exactly how I'm supposed to like carve the rattles or do the snakeskin texture, or if I want to do the texture or try to like focus more on the pattern or whatever. I might get stuck on that, and then, you know, maybe it gives me enough time to not look at this, and I might have that figured out on like, oh yeah, no, I can I could just do this and it's no problem. So I'm gonna keep working on the rabbit. I don't think I'm quite stuck yet. I think I'm just intimidated, I guess, more than anything. And I think it's gonna be pretty intimidating to carve that snake because it's gonna be a lot of very long flowing lines, but it'll be fun. Try to get his little mouth there. Cool. I'm gonna do I'm just trying to get a general light texture on the whole rabbit so that I can work on the darker parts and not have them be so starkly contrasted from having completely smooth texture. I feel like I do the same thing. I like, when I'm doing just like traditional art, I like using pencils, graphite, working in black and white and things like that. And I think something that I learned that I think not only myself but a lot of people will struggle with is getting their lights light enough and their darks dark enough. I think people like to hang out in the middle ground and they're afraid of making things too light or too dark, and I am a victim of that as well. So I feel like if I just make the whole thing starting out middle ground, obviously leaving out parts that I know I want to leave white, but if I make the whole thing start out at a middle tone, then it'll be easier for me to push the darker parts darker, where it would be harder for me to just jump into that straight away. I think I'm a little bit out of focus, so I'm going to focus this a little bit more. Is that better? Did I do anything? Maybe not. Who knows? I need to fix my chair though. I have a blanket on my chair that always falls off. Yeah, I do want to show real quick my other, so I showed my other case. So on this case, the whole thing unzips, but I was nervous about making this too small because I have this on the, I made this on the butt of my shotgun to hold some rounds, and obviously that takes up space, so if I'm just measuring based on the width of the butt, then this isn't going to fit, which I could always take it off. It's not like it's permanently attached. It has lacing on the bottom and stuff, but I did want to make sure that that was going to be able to fit. It would be really nice to just store this as is and not have to worry about storing this somewhere and taking it on and off. But essentially that's what this case is going to be like. It's going to just unzip from this, and then I pull the whole thing out, which will be nice because, again, I've never installed a zipper, and I'd much rather just install a zipper here than along the whole length of the barrel and everything, so yeah. I think it doesn't help that I'm like tired today also. I'm like not forming words, but it's okay. Okay, so there's one of my points exactly for leatherworking. I just dropped my tool onto the leather and made a dent in the leather that it's just gonna be there now, but it's not the end of the world, but it's there. I mean, I'm glad it's up there and not, I guess, in the middle of the rabbit's face or something, but oh well. Okay. Do a little darker here. Get a smaller one. I feel like I'm in a tight spot with a big tool and it's not working. See, like that's nice. You can see that from camera. That's what I should be doing, is making these nice and deep. I can feel that with my finger going across. Feels nice. I need to make some of these like that. I'm also going to, okay, that's what I'll do to get unstuck. I need to make these legs in back darker because they're on, I guess, the far side of the rabbit, and they're kind of under him, so they're going to be less, I guess, obvious and light. So I will shade those in. Smaller. I need like a narrow. I like this texture I'm using, but it's in a kind of wider teardrop head, and I would like a, well, I could do that. There we go. I want a more narrow face on it because I need to get in this little narrow strip where you can just see a sliver of that far leg. And then you can see another one of those little lines going down his foot here, so I'll do that. I don't know why I can't figure out which hand to use. Right-handed, I swear. Okay, I'm gonna try to get this up in here and make this. I'm trying to get, because this, the face of this, I don't know, I keep calling them stamps. I don't know what else to call them. The face of this one isn't totally, like, perpendicular to the face of the leather. It's got a slant to it, and so it's got this, I don't know, I guess I call it like a toe. It's got a long edge and a short edge back here, and so I'm trying to put this toe kind of in the crease of the cut of the near-sided leg so that it pushes that far-sided leg back. Hopefully. That's the idea anyway. I need to do. I need to get an empty one of these, and I need to put all the tools that I'm using in this one that I'm cycling through so that I don't have to keep picking up every single one of them, figure out which one I need. I literally brought this empty one out for that reason, and then I forgot to do it. I don't really need that one anymore. That was just for outlining the stencil. So yeah, it's really nice that I have, again, such a variety of these stamps. Because yeah, sometimes I have maybe the texture I want, but not the right size or shape. Like this is a good mid-size teardrop, which is good for a lot of stuff. I like using the kind of rounded edges are nice, because if you get these ones that have that slanted edge and it has that kind of like toe on it, or it's got that harsh square line, sometimes when you hammer you can see that, like if you're not holding it at the right angle, you can see that line over and over again as you move. But I don't get that with the rounded edges, and it's a lot easier to blend everything together. Here's my wabbit, my jackrabbit. So far, as you can probably even tell from there, I am still procrastinating the head and face. I'm just kind of working on the body right now. I've darkened up this leg back here. I could probably do so even more, and I need to kind of, what do you call it? Kind of define his little toes down here and darken some of those up. My one viewer. And I need to do more texture on the background so that he stands out from it. Yeah. Got like an hour left, and I think I'm just gonna debating if I should keep working on the rabbit or if I should carve the snake out right now. We darkened this leg back here, and maybe I'll move on to the snake just to give myself a little variety. Yeah, let's see. Okay. And this thing's been drying up. She's been drying up so quick. Which I'm also probably not getting it wet enough just with the wet shirt, but you're supposed to kind of run it underwater, under like a sink really quick, and I think you're supposed to like be able to see on the side that it's kind of soaked through like halfway through the leather or something, but I don't know. I just kind of get it wet enough to accept the stamp, and if I gotta keep re-wetting it, then so be it. You know? Okay. Let's darken that up. That leggy up back there. Where's the stamp I want to use? Is it this one? Yeah, I'll use this one. Okay. Yeah, it's got nothing crazy going on back here, although no, I'll do that after. Need something more narrow. Are these the same size? Yes, are these literally the same thing? 217, 270, okay, great. Two of the same one, apparently. I've done that before. I'm like, oh, that one looks better, and it's literally the exact same tool, and I'm not helping myself. them toesies. Definitely need to make this ground down here darker. Go. That's what I kind of mean by I do things lightly at first, and then I start doing more to the rest of it, and then I realize like, no, I can send that a little harder, and I can do some more. So then I just go back and add more, but yeah, let's see. And then I wanted to do some triangles kind of on the back of this elbow here, because he's got some fluff. He's got some fuzzies that I want to try to capture somewhat. Maybe. Some of these are working really well and some are not like doing it like I hoped it would, but that's okay. Let's do some of these and some of these. Yeah, sometimes I feel like like I said earlier, if I end up having that kind of harsh edge that I stamp into my, I end up getting stamped in there, sometimes I can go over it with the rounded one and kind of at least soften those harsh lines up, if not kind of get rid of them completely depending on how bad they are, but yeah, I think the teardrop shaped ones are my favorite because you usually don't get the harsh lines unless you're like just really wailing on it and you're doing, you know, individual little, you can see the individual teardrop shapes, but yeah, I like it because you can also kind of tilt it forward and get some finer details with the point at the tip, but yeah, it's a good one. I like it. So let me do a little more there. Okay, do a little progress shot here. I've gotten a little further. Oh, Lord. So, oh, I like that you can see the fluff that I did on the chest with the triangle. So I used a triangle stamp, like this, just a solid triangle, and I just used the tip of the triangle and I pressed the tip in a bunch of times, and it kind of makes it look fuzzy. And yeah, I need to kind of define his toes and stuff because it looks like he's just got like a block foot right there, so, and you can see it a little bit on the tail of the fuzz, and I try to do a bit on the back of the neck and stuff, but I'm going to try to go in a little bit more with the triangle and do that. It'll look better too once this dries up. You can see the contrast more, but the leather's still wet, so can't see it as much, but I did definitely darken up those back legs. I still need to add texture and darkness to the front legs, but I have to make sure that the back legs are a little bit darker so that it pushes them back in the field of view. And I think same thing with the ears. I'll have to do the other one a little bit darker just to visually push it back. I like this line right here. Again, I didn't carve that, I just stamped this, and I'm going to try to have that connect into some darkness on the fur up top, but still keep this pretty definitive because I don't want to lose it amongst all the other fur. Yeah, and then I did a pretty harsh texture down here for where his little foot is landing, and I think I might put some more back here to show the shadow, or at least maybe like underneath him completely, and leave it maybe a little bit more harsh here, but do it in a line a little bit lighter maybe underneath the whole thing. I don't know. I'll do it a little lighter and see how it looks, and if I want to darken it, I'll just stamp it more. But, you know, it's, I'm not mad at the project so far. I'm fairly happy with it so far, and yeah, I think it's going well. I just am overthinking a lot of things, unnecessarily, but yeah, I've, again, never done a carving this big. I think the biggest I've done has been my wallet, but the figures on there were a lot smaller, so I didn't have to get as detailed. I could throw a couple textures in there and throw some shading, and even like the cuts and stuff could be a little rough. They don't have to be super precise, because I'm like, yeah, you still get that it's a horse, and I got the shading right and stuff, but I'm not getting this huge, like, super detailed, you know? I think that's just what was throwing me off the most right now. And then it's also, again, I've never had to sit and talk and explain what I'm doing as I'm doing it while I'm trying to focus and figure out, you know, how dark I want to make things and what, like, texture or pattern would make the most sense in certain areas, but yeah. Hello! I'm glad you are here. I've been making this case. And this is definitely going to take me a while, because it's a big case. I'm making a 410 shotgun case, which I've never made before, and I plan this on being a multi-stream project. They may not be, you know, back-to-back streams, but I might break it up with some texture here and there just to give myself a break on the project. My main focus on the project is to, well, one, obviously make this, but, and your data isn't glad, or like, are you watching, like, with cell data? Yeah, I actually haven't watched, I need to watch other streamers too, and maybe see how other people do this stuff. That would probably help me. Yeah, anyway, I'm making this gun case, and I'm just going to show my sketchbook again, because I showed it at the very beginning, and of what my rough idea was for this gun case, and yeah, I'm like 2 hours in now, so if anybody saw in the beginning, they probably haven't seen it now, so yeah, this whole big chunk of leather, it's very long. She goes all the way out. This will eventually be folded as I drop all my tools, and it'll be folded, and then this is going to have a zipper so that I can open this back part up, and then take the gun out. It'll work, and we don't have Wi-Fi, and data is not. What kind of work doesn't have Wi-Fi? That is unfortunate. Well, again, I'm recording this, or I should be anyway, assuming everything's working correctly, and we'll be on YouTube, so you haven't missed a lot. I've been rambling a lot, so yeah, I wouldn't be upset about missing this one. It's yeah, this is like the biggest, by far the biggest project I've done, so I'm a little nervous about it. But I have a rough sketch of what I want my case to look like. So on the one side, I want to have a jackrabbit and a rattlesnake. Other side, bighorn sheep and an ocotillo. So right now I'm working on this side of the case, and I'm working on the jackrabbit. Here he is. And you know what? Honestly, even after that little 2-second break of pulling out my sketchbook and stuff and not looking at this, I am already feeling more happy with this. I wouldn't say I was hating this yet, but oh, I totally froze. Okay, it's okay. I appreciate you showing up anyway, and again, I'm gonna have this recorded and put on YouTube, and this is gonna be a several part series anyway, so you didn't miss a ton. I still have a lot of work to do on this thing, so no stress. But yeah, sometimes I just need a little mental and visual break from my art, whether it's drawing or painting or leatherworking. If I look away from it for a minute and focus on something else for a second, sometimes I look back at it and I'm like, hey, you know what? That ain't looking too bad, actually. Because I was getting, I wouldn't say a little bummed, I was getting a little, like, I was mentally psyching myself out of like, oh god, this is looking terrible. It's not coming out the way I wanted to, and I swear I've done this before. No, it's coming fine. Again, it's a process. It's not, I gotta trust the process. I have to trust myself, trust the process. Drink some cranberry juice, and not spill it on the leather, obviously. And it's not going to be perfect within the first 5 minutes. It's a process, and I have to just keep working on it, but also not overwork it, you know? That's another thing that I'd say I'm fairly good at not doing, is sitting on a piece for too long and overdoing it. And, you know, one of those things where sometimes you see artists and they're working on a piece and they end up keep making changes to it, and you're like, dude, you should have stopped like 10 minutes ago, you know? Like, it was solid and you just kept working on it and it was too much. I feel like I'm fairly okay at knowing when to stop. I think if anything, I stopped too soon and I need to keep going. Like I said, I feel like sometimes I leave some of these values a little too light, or, you know, I could put more texture into it, more depth into it, and I'm like, it's good how it is, I don't want to mess it up, and I just like leave it too soon. But again, I have no time limit on this. Yeah, I can take as much time as I want to on it, and I'm just gonna work on it in little 3-hour increments on stream, and I think that'll help also, so that I'm not just sitting here like bogging myself down trying to work on it for like 5, 6, 7, 8 hours straight, and then I hate looking at it by the end of the day. Like, I just want to work on this for a few hours, document my process, talk a bit. If it's not the most efficient, oh well, at least I'm not like burning myself out on this, and I'm still happy with it at the end of the day. So I think that's what I'm going to try to focus on more than anything. So get this a little damp again. Should probably let this like sit on here for a second and like soak up some moisture, but I'll probably work on this, yeah, until 2. I think I'll end at 2. I got another like 40 minutes, and I don't know. I don't want to say I didn't get as far as I thought I would today. I think I got probably about as much as I thought I would. I knew this video was gonna not that it wasn't gonna be good, but I wanted to have that stuff at the beginning of explaining what my vision for the project was and where I got the pattern from and the inspiration from, and I had to still trim it up a bit and stuff, but hopefully I can get this guy done a little more today, and then we'll see if I want to work on this again next week, or if I want to do some insect pinning. I got a little tub of bees and scorpions and stuff that I want to pin up, and we'll see what I feel more motivated to do, but so far this project is still obviously new and exciting to me, so it's still fun. But okay, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna cut the eye. Let's just jump right into it, shall we? Just don't think about it and it'll be okay. Not bad. I think it's funny that like the heat from my fingers is drying out the leather. Sharpen my guy up a little bit. I gotta say, people have their opinions on Tandy, but I don't know, the people that work at Tandy Leather have been nothing but helpful to me, so I like them. I think sometimes people don't like Tandy because they want their very expensive, perfect hides, and I'm sure Tandy does have those, but they also have hides like this that have random scars on them, or like the brand that's on the rest of this hide that I like, I'm going to utilize for the handle, but some people are picky and they don't want that. Which, you know, more power to them, but you can leave the interesting hides for me. What was I going to do? I was going to carve out these toes again because I kind of lost them. Kind of smushed them down when I stamped a bunch. I have a stamp that's a circle, just a circle, but I don't know if it's, you know, it actually might be. I have one that is just a perfectly round hollow circle, and I think it might be just the right size for the pupil. But I'm scared. Let's see. Let's do it lightly. Wow. I didn't fully stamp it in there. I just kind of lightly pressed it to see what it looked like, and he looks haunted, which is perfect because he's a jackrabbit and they look like they've seen the devil, so works for me. Cool. And yeah, if you guys have any ideas on or suggestions on, you know, stuff to put on this, like, you know, if I should do the border or leave it plain or do a little landscape back here or whatever, feel free to let me know. I may not take your suggestions, but maybe I will. Depends on what it is. Now, I'm not putting a dragon on here. I'm leaving it to desert animals, but alright. So one of my other big goals that I've been trying to work on while I've been streaming is keeping my desk organized, especially while leatherworking, because, well, it's just easy to get tools everywhere and lose things, and then it just procrastinates even more what I want to do. I feel like my brain is fried right now. Like I'm just not forming cohesive thoughts. Okay, I'm gonna put this down. I don't need to carve anymore. I'm going to use the teardrop shaped one again, but maybe try to use more of the tip and get kind of get that jawline cut, if you will. It goes all the way down here to his little neck. Well, it's a little aggressive, but I guess not aggressive enough. Okay. I'm going to add some shading behind the ear because it's dark back there. Ear is in the shadow of Mordor. I'm going to add... I need to make the top of the tail dark. He's a black-tailed jackrabbit. My face is so close to the leather. This is stressful. A little bit of a dark tail there. I'm gonna do a little bit here just to blend that out a bit. And then he's got the dark in here, but it still kind of goes out. The tip of the ears dark. I'm gonna move this out of the way. Don't look at my thigh hole. Don't look at the rib. I need new jeans, okay? Don't look at that. Got some down here. Oh man. Okay, and then I'm going to add a little back here. This ear's behind. It's also kind of hard because that scar is going right through his ear, but it's okay, it adds character. I'm gonna add a little line right here. Okay. So when I carve this ear, there's like the inner curve of it, and it was lining up right with the outline of the second ear, and so it looked like it was connecting through. I guess like in the animes when you see the eyebrows through the hair, I feel like it was looking like that, where you can see the back ear through the front ear, but it was just how the lines were lined up, so I added a little continuation of the line up, so hopefully that kind of separates it a little bit. And I'll try to show that when I do close up. I'm gonna do some more of that aggressive pattern on the ground a little bit, so that he's got some ground he's flying over. Just making sure my lines are straight. Sorry, I got to respond to something. Okay, got a little bit of ground here, nothing crazy. My watch is telling me I need to get up, but it can shut up. Okay, get this a little bit. I'm gonna work on his eye a little bit because it looks crazy, which, I mean, like, it's supposed to, but also not that crazy. I'm gonna use this little fine point, the one I used to outline. I feel like it always looks better on the eyeballs when I do that. Okay, I feel like it transferred some like gray metal color on there, but great. Let's use this maybe. I need to cut it more. I need to cut it. I need to cut it. And I need to cut him a little nose. Okay, maybe that's too small. A little nose, come on. Okay, and this is a little much. I think I'm gonna do what am I gonna use? I'll use this. Get his little. I feel like I need to make his eye bigger. His eye is tiny. Okay. Yeah, some depth a little bit here. Nothing crazy. Just so it's not totally blank. Okay, I should add some. This is drying out. I mean, I know I'm not getting it that wet, but still. Jeez Louise. I think that's the other thing about streaming is I'm getting used to is just like doing my hobby, then also narrating what I'm doing, and then like just more or less talking to myself, you know? I mean, yes, I talk to myself sometimes, but it's hard having that like stream of consciousness, but then like I guess vocalizing that instead of just thinking about it. I feel like sometimes I like just pressing it in with my hand instead of hammering it, and it gets me a little bit more precise of what and where I want these stamps to be at. But again, this is a big carving, so there's a lot of texture to do. I think I'm gonna leave that for now. I'm gonna let it dry a little bit so that you guys can maybe see what some of the carving looks like dry. I 100% need to go back on pretty much all these areas and just make them more intense and darken them. But I'm just trying to lay out what I guess what stamps I want where, what textures are gonna look right. I have to add, you know, whiskers and stuff and some little fuzz. And yeah, next time I will carve the snake, start working on that, and probably jump back and forth between these two. I don't know if that's going to be next week or if I'm going to take a little break from that or not. We'll see. Kind of just what I feel motivated to do, but this is an exciting project for me. I have been wanting to make a big project like this for a while, and I've been really wanting to make a new case for my 410. That 410 was the first gun I ever shot. It's my favorite thing to shoot. I love 12 gauge also, but I can just go a lot longer on the 410 because it's a lot it's a lot easier on the shoulder. It's a lot smaller of a round. I know I was showing the wrap I made for the stock, and you probably saw the rounds, and they're a lot skinnier than a 12 gauge. So yeah, and I just want a nice case for my favorite gun. So I don't totally know what Twitch's or YouTube for that matters, like, what is it, code of conduct or terms of service or whatever, are in terms of showing guns. I read through Twitch's last night, and as far as I could tell, you can show them as long as you're not obviously like brandishing them around and like threatening people with them or whatever. I feel like in this context, like, I am making a case for this. I'm not even like taking it out. I'm not loading it. I'm not doing anything. I feel like that's fine. But if y'all know something I don't, please tell me. Because otherwise I'll just keep showing this stuff, and, you know, eventually at the end I would like to show the full thing, you know, me putting it in there and how it fits and everything, but I also don't feel like getting videos taken down or having weird things happen with my channel just because I showed a shotgun for like educational purposes, you know what I mean? Because some platforms are just very overly cautious with that type of stuff, which, you know, I get, but I'm not doing anything negative with it. But yeah, this has dried up a little bit, so I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like so far. It's not done by any means. I still have a very long way to go on this thing. And it's still a little wet around here, so it's a little darker there, but yeah, I can show you guys the progress on that. And I'm trying to tell myself right now to trust the process, because I'm looking at this right now and I'm like, oh my god, like, what is this? But it's fine. I'm not anywhere near done with it. I still need to work on it. It's not gonna look great for a minute until I work on it more. I think I might do some of this more aggressive texture that I did on the ground. I might do in the background around the rabbit to make it pop out more, because right now the rabbit's looking very dark against the very flat, plain background. So I might do, you know, a pretty aggressive texture, or you know, take one of these stamps and just hit it pretty hard and get that background dark and contrasted against the rabbit, because I'm darkening these spots and now it's just looking weird. But show you what I got right now. Again, not done by any means, but it doesn't look bad from afar. I have to darken up the butt a lot back here. That's still pretty light, but I tried to darken up, you know, the crease where the elbow is. This I need to kind of darken up, and I want this to connect all in here, because this whole section back here is the darkest on the rabbit, this whole back part, and it kind of flows in with that, what is it, the haunch or whatever. And this is okay, I think, because the belly is lighter. I like the little fuzzies I did on the chest. I need to do a lot more definition on the legs and feet. I kind of just threw some stamps in there just so that they weren't totally blank, and I tried to make the back legs obviously a bit darker, but I definitely need to add some more detail and definition on them. I want to throw some whiskers on the face. I gotta definitely do more detailing on the face and the eye and stuff. The eye's looking a little jacked up right now, but again, it's work in progress. And then I haven't really done a whole lot to the ears. I threw some stamps in where the darkest parts were, and so I'll throw in some stamps on the rest of it and then go back and darken up those dark parts again. I think that's kind of my approach to making sure my darks get as dark as they need to be. I start with the dark parts and then I fill in everything else, and then I go, oh wow, the dark parts really aren't that dark and I need to go back and do more. But I'll do a little bit of a close-up, as much as I don't want to, but again, work in progress, don't judge me. And if you do, well, it's my own gun case anyway, so be mad about it. So yeah, here's my guy. He's, you know, he's alright. He ain't bad, he ain't great. He's just there. He's a work in progress. Yeah, I'm not mad about it. I'm just glad his anatomy's okay. Like, I could have, given him 6 legs or something, or made him really proportionally weird, but, yeah, just look at it from a distance. He don't look that bad. Yeah, I think that'll be good. Snake will go all the way down here. Little rabbit guy. And then I'm going to do Ocotillo. I'll show what a picture of an Ocotillo looks like, because they're not very, I don't want to say they're not common plants, but, Ocotillo plant. Images. So this is an Ocotillo. It's a weird plant, but I love it. It's my favorite plant. They grow out here in Anza-Borrego Desert, Ocotillo wells. They're these weird, like, just scraggly looking, very tall. They are spiny. They have spines on them. And when they're all dried up and dead, people use them for fencing and stuff, but they have these really beautiful red flowers on the tips, and they just get really big and bushy sometimes. And I really like them. Again, they're really tall, like, weird plants, but I'm gonna do that. Which side did I plan on doing that? Oh, I planned on doing that. So I was gonna have the snake. Gonna have a sneaky little snake slithering down this way, and on the other side I'll do it vertically. I'll have the base of the Ocotillo here, and I'll have the Ocotillo spreading upward, I think, although I'm realizing this is like thinner than I was anticipating, but I think I can still do an Ocotillo here, because when I'll have like, oopsie, I'll have D-rings on here, and I'll have a shoulder strap on here, and I'll be carrying it vertically, so the Ocotillo will be standing straight up and down when I'm carrying it vertically. So that's why I'm not too upset about that one being sideways. It is the only one that is sideways, but again, I haven't gotten there. I can always change my mind, but yeah, my little rabbit's he's coming along. We'll get some more progress on him, and he'll look decent. But other than that, yeah, this is definitely part 1. I'm gonna upload this to YouTube under the same name, Vulture Leatherworking, and I probably should make highlights out of these because they're gonna be 3-hour long streams, and I am rambling a lot, but who knows, maybe they're just good to throw on in the background and have to pay attention to, which, hey, if that's what you want to use it for, by all means. I'm also just doing this for myself to kind of like document the physical process of making this project, and then also like my thought process on some of these design things, or what's going on in her head while she's making this. And I'll get better at this. Yeah, so I'll do stream same time again next week, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, again, I'll just see if I feel motivated to do this more, or I still have my insects to pin, and I have to finish my 2 kissing mice that I made the other week for the taxidermy. I still have to finish them up, take some pins out, do some like powder makeup that's pink to get their hands and feet and tail and noses pink again, and just kind of brush them out, do some final touches, make them look pretty. And then I have a thing like this, but it's bigger. It's a big base with a big glass dome on it that I think should be big enough to put the 2 mice kissing in here. So I think if I end up doing taxidermy and bug stuff, that's what that'll be, but otherwise I'm just going to be working on this. And yeah, I'm going to have to cut out the handle part eventually, just so that I might do that, before my next leatherworking stream, just so that I have a rough idea of where this handle's supposed to go, so that I don't end up carving and designing stuff too far where it's just going to get covered up by the handle leather. Especially for my snake, because my snake head is going to be here. I'm going to have the rattle at the very end, and that would suck if I put the head here and then ended up putting a piece of leather over it, and then I just have a headless snake and my rabbit's like kind of running away for nothing. But anyway, I think I'm going to hop off, and I'll throw this up on YouTube for anybody that cares to see it. And yeah, this is definitely going to take a while, but I think it'll be kind of fun to see the whole process and start to finish and stuff. But it's going to be a lot of time doing this and carving and stuff before I get to the, you know, installing a zipper and sewing and stuff, but which I'm looking forward to, because it's going to be a new skill I can throw under my belt. But I was just looking at the instructions for it, and it seems a little daunting, but I think it's one of those things that seems intimidating until you actually get into it and you're like, oh, it's really not that bad. But I do need to go at some point and buy a zipper. I should measure how long this is around and buy a heavy duty zipper. I think they should have some at Tandy. I'll go into the store and look at some, and whenever I get to finishing all my design work, I can start putting it together. And I think that's one of the first steps, is putting the zipper on. So yeah, anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling, and I'll see y'all next week. So thanks for watching and showing interest in my little hobbies. Bye!